The following contest is scheduled for one fall and is for the Smackdown Tag Team Championship. Introducing the challengers first and residing in Hollywood, California. Weighing in at 221 pounds, the his partner from Los Angeles, California, weighing in at 215 pounds, John Morrison. Introducing the champions at a combined weight of 462 pounds. They are the Smackdown Tag Team Champions, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, the B-Team.
for whom the bell tolls. Time marches on. A nickel or some shit.
Here are your winners and the new Smackdown Tag Team Champions, John Morrison and The Miz. The following contest is scheduled for one fall. Making his way to the ring from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, weighing in at 235 pounds, the glorious Robert Roode. opponent from Kyoto, Japan, weighing in at 220 pounds, he is the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura!
She was by having the events pick up immediately after, hence the script. As for Halloween 3, it was always intended to continue the franchise as an anthology, and therefore would be unscripted watching by Nigel Peter, ultimately as a project. Scripted when each rewrites were Wallace, and as Carpenter had already been trying to distance himself from the franchise at that point, Wallace ended up retaining the same running credit. Now, when it comes to Halloween 4 and why it's been 6 long years of you do understand what the franchise was. In the release of System, which was to inspired, declined to pursue an installment because they no longer felt Halloween was viable.
Here is your winner. He is the artist known as
And they reach out to me. So this is... Two more scenes of note include a double kill that features a teenage couple having sex in a drugstore, where Michael plunges his knife into the boy's back, killing him instantly. This goes unnoticed by the girl, who mistakes the thrusts of Michael trying to dislodge the knife as typical coital motions, where upon the grisly realization, she too is quickly murdered when Michael finally gets the knife out and uses it to slash her throat. The other scene, which was somewhat repurposed for the eventual Halloween 4, finds Lonnie Elam and his friends playing a prank on Sheriff Brackett and Deputy Hunt, where they ambush the two in a cornfield, while all wearing Michael Myers masks. The difference here being that there are 13 masked bodies in total, at which point the realization dawns on them that there are only 12 pranksters, meaning that one of them is indeed the Shape. This segues into the climax that takes place at the earlier mentioned Lost River Drive-In, which would have featured a set piece containing the highest body count of not only Michael's slasher career, but also the highest body count of any slasher ever, certainly eclipsing Jason's record. The Shape manages to slaughter the entire drive-in audience by going car to car, where the muffled screams of his victims are indistinguishable from the sounds of the horror movies playing on screen. By the end of the bloodbath, it's all described as a graveyard of vehicles beneath the projector beam, where a million moths flutter in the light. Among the movies playing at the all-night horror marathon are Reanimator, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Christine, Psycho, The Fog, and nondescript entries in the Friday the 13th franchise. At one point, Michael would have even been killing people alongside with Jason killing people on screen, making this script somewhat meta before Scream even treaded that territory in the 90s. Alerted to the massacre, all of the characters coalesce at the drive-in for the final showdown, which is probably where things start to go off the rails. After Marion tries to talk Michael into coming back to Smith's Grove with her, he starts attacking them only for the police and Tommy to open fire. It's here where literal chunks of Michael's body start flying off, only to regenerate. Another Freddy Krueger ability. And he also starts to absorb the bullets being shot at him, which only make him stronger and allow him to grow up to 12 feet tall. A stray bullet strikes the gas tank of one of the parked cars, igniting the outdoor theater into an inferno, where Michael once again is engulfed in flames and disappears when the smoke settles. The final scene finds Tommy and Lindsay hiding in a nearby barn, where they all of a sudden join in a romantic embrace, despite there being no clear indication of any sparks or chemistry in any of their interactions throughout the film. It's here where they decide to leave town and start a new life somewhere else, leaving their families to believe they died in the fire because why not? There are definitely some memorable set pieces here, which would have been really nifty to see play out on screen, but the fact remains that this story does take a lot of creative liberties, crafting a mythology that goes against everything that had already been pre-established in the first two movies. And while future sequels would delve more into this kind of supernatural territory, it was still only ever suggested, rather than blatantly presented to us in text, Halloween 6 producer's cut notwithstanding. But the biggest offense here is how none of it is ever explained, not Michael's reappearance or his disappearance at the end. If these supernatural abilities were prevalent in the earlier films, that would be fine, but since Michael is a character already grounded in a human world, it just makes this plot very jarring, especially how none of the characters really question any of it. Despite the script being blessed by Carpenter and him having lined up Joe Dante of the Howling and Piranha fame to direct, Erwin Yablans and Mustafa Akkad kiboshed the script after they felt the supernatural approach was the wrong direction to pursue. Akkad wanted something more similar to the first two films, and of course, Carpenter and Hill were opposed to that. They were tired of making the same movie over and over again. Frustrated that the partners would never come to a mutual agreement, Hill and Carpenter put their collective stake in the franchise up for sale, which was then purchased by Akkad, thus ending their contractual oversight and whittling the franchise's rights holders down to just two. However, with all the numerous legal battles surrounding the shared intellectual property, Yablans became disillusioned with filmmaking and retired from the business for good, also selling his stake. And with Akkad being left as the sole rights holder to the franchise with complete creative control, he could now pursue the script he wanted, one more closely resembling the shape, as we saw him in the first two movies. I want to thank my Patreon supporter Natalia. If you guys want to check out even more Halloween-related content, including the Yeah, you're gonna love this one. It's a scream, baby.
Welcome to Watch Mojo.
Creed. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Creed, Leonor Pugh of Ancient Origins.
I know what you're thinking. This is weird, but I can handle it.
You shall never retrieve the Necronomicon. You'll die in the graveyard before you get it.
Hey, what's that you got on your face?
Oh. Blah, blah.
For this list, we're looking at performances in horror movies where actors really hammed it up as the bad guy. We're not saying these were bad performances, they're just different. Which of these performances did you find to be a little much? Let us know in the comments. Also, please note, there will be spoilers. Number 10, Matthew Lillard as Stu Marker. Scream. Throughout the movie, Matthew Lillard plays Stu as a total goofball. He's always cracking jokes and pulling silly faces.
Oh!
Jesus, this place is back man. We gotta run in the mass murder scene.
During the final act, however, when Stu is revealed to be one of the killers, Matthew Lillard really lets loose with the character, amping up the quirks. Lillard's performance at the climax was a nice contrast to Skeet Ulrich, who played the other killer, Billy, and was more sinister with his role.
Tell it to continuity. And believe how easy he was to frame.
To liven up his performance, Lillard reportedly ad-libbed some of his dialogue, including his response to being accidentally struck with the phone.
Hit me with the phone, Dick!
Number 9, Brad Dourif as Chucky, Child's Play franchise. If you're providing the voice of a killer doll in a horror movie, you can either be subtle and creepy, or you can play it big. With Chucky, Oscar-nominated actor Brad Dourif went with the latter option.
You little shit! Do you know what you've done? It's too late! I've spent too much time in his body!
All of Chucky's reactions are larger than life, whether he's laughing maniacally, screaming in terror, or intimidating someone into following his pint-sized orders. From the first scene in the original Child's Play, where we see him voice the doll, Dourif never fails to make an impression. Like to talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut!
As the series gradually became a more self-aware comedy, Dourif naturally made Chucky even more over the top.
I'm one of the most notorious slashers in history, and I don't want to give that up. I am Chucky, the killer doll, and I dig it!
Number 8, Warwick Davis as the
Here is your winner, Becky.
Let's be honest, when it comes to playing a killer leprechaun, the concept is so ridiculous that Warwick Davis had no choice but to play the role as extremely over the top.
There's only one way to kill a leprechaun. But I'm not going to tell you. I'll never tell you.
The character
It even has a watermark. Something wrong, Patrick?
was all around odd, but utterly captivating, and he certainly nailed the intensity. Bateman was aggressively snobby when he was around his friends, and completely unhinged when he was engaging in violent acts. Who can forget the infamous Huey Lewis scene?
In '87, we released this. 4, our most accomplished album. I think their undisputed masterpiece is Hip to Beat Square. A song so catchy, most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should.
Number 6, Bruce Campbell as Evil Ash, Army of Darkness. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead series has never shied away from absurdity. The villains, in particular, are downright maniacal.
I'll swallow your soul!
Come get some.
In the third entry, however, the filmmaker upped the ante by giving Ash himself, Bruce Campbell, a chance to play one of the baddies. Campbell played an evil version of his iconic character, and the malevolent doppelganger was every bit as silly as the original Ash, with the added bonus of a sinister twist.
Are you me?
What argue? Argue me?
You sound like a jerk.
After introducing himself, Evil Ash pesters the other Ash with childish taunts. Watching Bruce Campbell interact with himself and engage in violent slapstick was one of the highlights of the movie, if not the entire series.
Hey, what's the big idea of taking a bite? Take a bite.
Why, you?
Oh! Ooh, I'm blind.
Number 5, Vincent Price as Edward Long,
We did the immortal
who dished him with serious haunt,
being with my...
or Nicolas Cage as Peter Lowe. It's from the on Nicolas Cage.
You think you have to, or I'll fire you. Do you understand?
Aren't you gonna say?
As Pennywise. It.
Aren't you gonna say hello?
While Bill Skarsgård certainly put his own spin on the character of Pennywise, Tim Curry still has him beat when it comes to being over the top. Curry leaned into the clownish aspects of Pennywise, making jokes and yucking it up while he tormented the children of Derry.
I'll kill you all. I'll drive you crazy and I'll kill you all. I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am the worst dream come true.
And when the Losers Club grew up and returned as adults, he kept the jokes coming. Bringing bravado to every scene in which he appears, Curry really lived up to his role as an interdimensional being and eater of worlds.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well, you better let the poor guy out.
Curry's Pennywise was a memorable example of how over-the-top acting doesn't necessarily ruin a horror film. It can actually elevate it. Number 2, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Robert Englund was able to distinguish Freddy from other horror villains of the era by making him a trash talker with a flair for the dramatic.
Please, God.
Is God.
In the original film, we got to see a little bit of this side of Freddy as he taunted his victims, but he was saving the best material for later. As the series progressed, Freddy's penchant for being over the top became more and more amplified.
No screaming while the bus is in motion.
By Freddy's Dead, Freddy had become a full-on Looney Tune, with shameless gags such as playing with the Power Glove and impersonating the Wicked Witch of the West.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul too.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Bette Davis as Jane, Baby Jane Hudson, Angela Washington, broke out in Jason Friday the 13th. Betsy Palmer looked particularly deranged when she broke out in Jason's voice.
Don't let her get away, Mommy. Don't let her live. I won't, Jason. I won't.
Eric Freeman as Ricky, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. Eric Freeman's performance uplifted an intimidating presence to the iconic role. Before we go, make sure number 1, Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. The Shining. What's the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of an over-the-top performance in a horror movie?
Well, something to you. Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me. And will then take your time to get back to where I was.
More often than not, it's Jack Nicholson going all out as a psycho axe murderer. Under the direction of Stanley Kubrick, Nicholson gave an unhinged performance which perfectly captured one man's descent into madness. Whether he was just staring blankly or snapping at Shelley Duvall's Wendy, he never let up with the intensity.
Stop swinging that.
Perhaps the greatest contribution Nicholson gave to his performance was improvising the line, "Here's Johnny," after tearing down the door.
Here's Johnny!
Absurd, shocking, and oh so quotable. It's the whole package.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the...
What would happen if Belair and Flair ever wrestled? Flair says she only gives out opportunities, not charities. We see the WWE officials, and they announce a first ever match. Flair versus Belair in the main event of Raw. Also, and this is where it gets really interesting, a Women's Tag Team Championship rematch. Natalya and Tamina versus Ripley and Ass. Oh my god. You know, I always had a problem with WWE giving out WrestleMania main events on Monday Night Raw. Get me that popcorn, boy, because I'm about to get entertained. And also, the United States Championship match is next. Jeff Hardy versus Damian Priest. But then, we see the first round of the draft. And I gotta say, everything was so predictable. Obviously, Becky Lynch is going to Raw. Obviously, because in such a badass way, such a man way, she announced that earlier. And she's a Smackdown Women's Champion. The Smackdown Women's Champion is on Raw. The Raw Women's Champion is on Smackdown. You know what's about to happen. The championship unification. I don't know how I feel about that. The Usos are going to SmackDown. Paul Heyman is relieved. Pretty expected. Roman Reigns is on SmackDown. The Usos are on SmackDown as well. Raw selects Bobby Lashley. Not sure how I feel about this one. I think he definitely needed a change of scenery. At the end of the day, Drew McIntyre is on SmackDown now, so maybe it would get a little too repetitive. SmackDown picks Sasha Banks. Yes! Sasha! Sasha is all blue! Now that's predictable because SmackDown is blue and Sasha has blue hair. Yeah, I don't mind this one bit. With the current shakeup, it seems like the women's division is about to get really interesting, especially considering the fact we got some new females from NXT. I think it's gonna be a lot more interesting. Heyman and the Usos are happy about the draft. Heyman says you're a lot better looking than Kayla. You filthy sex machine, Paul Heyman. Patrick says, is that how you maintain Brock Lesnar's status as a free agent? And the mood shifts. The Usos are suspicious. I like how unpredictable this storyline really is. Yes, it may seem obvious that Paul Heyman is with Brock Lesnar, but then again, maybe WWE are just trying to make you feel that way. So then we see Jeff Hardy versus Damian Priest for the United States Championship, which was an interesting match. WWE are definitely giving Jeff Hardy a lot more TV time after the controversy. 24/7 Championship is so bad. If you appear in a 24/7 Championship segment, we see riots. Jeff Hardy hits Damian Priest with a swanton bomb. Priest kicks out and rolls Hardy for the win to retain the championship. I don't know how I feel about wrestlers just no-selling finishers. Obviously, he acted like it hurts, I get that. But he just got hit with a swanton bomb and felt like, you know what? I have a chance to do it. Whatever, we saw a mutual respect. Jeff Hardy is getting interviewed, and he says SmackDown is about to see a different side, a different character of Jeff Hardy. For what I understand, Jeff Hardy is teasing his other gimmick, Willow. Never liked it, if I'm being honest, but maybe it's gonna have a different flavor in the WWE. Then we see Austin Theory, who thanks Jeff Hardy for, getting him into wrestling. He was a huge fan growing up, and he just wants to take a selfie. Jeff Hardy is confused, but he says, well, okay, I'm a nice man. So Austin Theory takes a selfie, attacks Jeff Hardy, apparently he got a new finisher as well. It's interesting because Austin Theory actually asked Randy Orton if he can use this version of a cutter. Randy Orton said, "Okay, kid." And then he was like, "Yeah, then I don't need it anymore." Yeah. And he takes a selfie again. Welcome to the main roster. Yeah, that was interesting. Don't know how I feel about it yet. Can't complain. Although it seems like, I don't think that's the case, but it feels like I've already seen this gimmick. Then we see Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke. It was exactly what you would expect. Shayna Baszler wins the match very quickly, then attacks Dana Brooke, but we see Doudrop and she saves Dana Brooke. Not sure why, don't care either. More reading, people, more reading. Seth Rollins is drafted to Monday Night Raw. So just like I predicted, Edge versus Seth Rollins is going to continue. A great addition to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Rollins is back. Nakamura and Booz stay on SmackDown, so the Intercontinental Championship is still going to be on SmackDown. Damian Priest stays on Raw, obviously because the Intercontinental Champion is on SmackDown. And Sheamus goes to SmackDown. This is gonna be interesting. This is a brand new Sheamus. Sheamus that always gives us great matches, so it's gonna be interesting what kind of stories Sheamus will receive on SmackDown. We saw Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo versus Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. A lot of talented people right here. And of course, like expected, the Cute Boys used dirty tactics and won the match. More sports entertainment. AJ and Omos staying on Raw. I kinda expected to see AJ Styles on SmackDown. The man lost so much credibility. It seems like this tag team is still a thing. That's really unfortunate. Shayna Baszler goes to SmackDown. Great. She already, looks a lot more legit. She's getting a push, and her being on SmackDown will hopefully make us forget.
Very exciting announcement today. Opera GX. I love this browser. I'm so glad they reached out to me. So this is an internet browser that focuses on
That she was wasted for like 2 years. Kevin Owens is going to Raw. I'm okay with that. He didn't have anything left to do on SmackDown. And Xylee's going to SmackDown. So again, the women's division is growing. And I appreciate that. Big E is in the ring, but Drew McIntyre quickly interrupts. He says, "You deserve it. I didn't congratulate you because I want to do it in person." And he congratulates Big E. He says, "You deserve it, but technically you won against an injured man by cashing in." But nobody likes Bobby Lashley anyway, so I'm okay with that. Nobody likes Lashley. Better ask them women. And he obviously challenges Big E to a WWE Championship match. We see Dolph Ziggler, and I actually like this. He reminded everyone that, Big E needs to thank Dolph Ziggler. Because of Dolph Ziggler, we got the New Day, we got Big E, because, he was Big E's mentor. Drew McIntyre says he's kinda right, but Dolph says, "Hold on, you're next."
Ziggler, are you the second legends again? That's my catchphrase that I use for my son, Gage.
He reminds everyone that Drew McIntyre got to the main roster because of Dolph Ziggler. Then Big E and Drew McIntyre roasted Rude, basically insinuating that Rude is not on their level. Rude says, "People call me Big Bob." Nobody calls you that. Big E issues a challenge for a tag team match. Ziggler and Rude versus Big E. Drew McIntyre quickly interrupts. And Big D. D stands for tag. Drew McIntyre quickly for a tag team match. Ziggler and Rude versus Big E. Drew McIntyre quickly interrupts. And Big D. D stands for deck. Or Drew. More likely for deck. So we saw the very predictable tag team match, and obviously we saw Big E almost hitting his finisher, but Drew McIntyre tags, and he hit Ziggler with a Claymore. Ooh, the tensions are rising. And the match is gonna happen at Crown Jewel, of course. Kevin Owens comes out, but he gets interrupted by Akira Tozawa. But Tozawa wants to fight Reggie, and we saw a stunner. Yay, Stone Cold Steve Austin, everyone. I think he needs to get back with the powerbomb, honestly. Every time I see the stunner, I just think about Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's not exactly what a wrestler needs. More sports entertainment. The Street Profits are going to Raw. Yeah, I'm fine with that. The Viking Raiders are going to SmackDown. Definitely needed a change. Finn Balor is going to Monday Night Raw. Yes, he already lost against Roman Reigns. but it will be pretty interesting to see Finn Balor in the WWE title picture. Ricochet is going to SmackDown. The good news is he definitely needed some kind of a change. The bad news is he was barely on Raw. SmackDown is a shorter show. I don't see many opportunities on SmackDown for Ricochet either. And let's just talk about the rest of the draft picks. Karrion Kross goes to Raw. Yay dildos. Garza and Carrillo go to SmackDown. The one thing that this draft did right is, making sure that the women's division and the tag team division is going to look a lot different. Alexa Bliss stays on Raw, hopefully with a brand new gimmick. Cesaro stays on SmackDown, not sure where he is right now. Carmella goes to Raw, Corey got a boner. Ridge Holland